Just out of curiosity, do any of you guys know how we got our name, Lincoln Park? Yeah, what's up? In the back. That's the most common misconception. So that's great. That's great that you said that, because we can get that right out of the way. We're actually from LA, and there's a park in LA called Lincoln Park. When same spelling though, and same idea. And when we heard the name, we thought, we wanted something that kind of felt like that, and we wanted to get the .com. It was taken, and we literally changed our band name to get linkin.com. We went through a number of different spellings, but that was the one we settled on. And I say that because even at that time, when there was essentially no MP3s really out there, and people weren't even really using the internet that much, we knew it would be important to us to have a home on the internet that we could say, come to our home, it's easy to remember, here's what it is, .com, you'll find us.
So Tim, you've been pretty vocal about how important the internet and bloggers in particular have been to the success of your book. Talk a little bit about, what did you do when your book first came out to connect it to bloggers? Because at that point, a lot of us myself in particular, I went from having a blog to then writing a book. You sort of did it the other way around, where you got your blog to have a lot of popularity and stuff after you wrote the book. So talk a little bit about that.
So I knew from the very outset, as a first-time author, working with the largest publisher in the world, Random House, that I would have a limited set of options for promotion, because they had already staked their claim in doing things in print and mostly offline. So I decided early on that I would cast my bet for blogging and blogs, just having spoken to, I interviewed about 12 best-selling authors before I wrote the book, and I also interviewed best writing authors. And it's not that difficult to do. You just have to find, in this case, people who are, let's say, a year and a half after their book was last on the bestseller list, and they're generally more than happy to talk. You don't want to catch them when they're at the apex of the attention that they'd be getting. And the two commonalities were they both radio and blogs. And I noticed that the blogs were up and coming, and radio was somewhat in decline. So I bet on blogs. And I realized early on that a mistake many people make when they're pitching bloggers or journalists or offline media, which coincidentally I think is the fastest way to build traffic online, is to get very good at mastering offline media, because so few bloggers do it. That it pays more to be interested than interesting. So my very first foray into the world of blogs was at CES, and I went to the Blog House, H-A-U-S, and I remembered just asking a lot of questions. So when people ask me, how did you meet all these bloggers, or how did you pitch these bloggers, I say, I didn't pitch them. I essentially just went to Vegas and got drunk with a lot of them. And there is a good amount of truth to that. And what I found is that if you are both vulnerable and open about your shortcomings, people are more inclined to help you. And that's not a stratagem, really. It's being honest with who you are. So I would walk up to groups of bloggers, and they'd be talking about God knows what that I would know nothing about, and I'd say, hey guys, I'm kind of an idiot about all this stuff, but you guys seem to know what's going on. Do you mind if I eavesdrop and buy you guys are having drinks? And I'd be like, all right, fine. And once I'd done that 2 or 3 times, I would stop people and ask them, I'm really sorry, I'm pretty deep in the pool of ignorance here. I don't know what the hell Ruby on Rails is. What is that? I'm really sorry, but let's just take a step back. And they appreciated that, and eventually they would say, okay, who the hell are you again? And that's how it would start. I'd say, I'm doing this, I'm kind of working on my first book, and I would stop. And that would elicit the question, okay, well, what's the book? And I never actively asked, there were maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. I never actively asked any bloggers to review the book, because that doesn't serve them, it doesn't serve their audience in most cases. I offered, in some cases, to do Q&As or guest posts, and I always had additional content. If it wasn't in the book, I didn't care. It was about providing value to the readers and looking at trends, looking at things that were becoming. So that was the initial approach, and everything was customized. I did not send out templates to any bloggers. All right. Just as a side note, some of you may know who Tucker Max is. Some of you may not, and some of you may not want to know who Tucker Max is. Awesome guy, very offensive, but very, very, very smart. And go to tuckermax.com if you want to see what I'm talking about. But he was once sent a template pitch from the PR arm of a publisher that violently turned him down. And the template letter to him was, "Dear Mr. Max, you are an influencer in your community." And it was awful. It was like, "We know you're going to love our fantastic new book, and if you could promote that to your followers, we'd sure appreciate it." And so he put that on his forum, which has a lot of followers, with this PR person's phone and email, and she quit 2 weeks later. So that's how not to do it.
Right.
In any case, those are a couple of suggestions.
So one of the things I think that